Shavua Tov, everybody. I'm Rolene Marks. Welcome to the Israel Brief, brought to you as always by Lay of the Land, where we take a look at those top stories making headlines in Israel. Now, towards the end of last week, we spoke about the Supreme Court ruling which would prohibit Aryeh Deri, he is the chief of the Shas faction, be prevented from serving as a member of Knesset or a member of cabinet. Now, yesterday, during the weekly cabinet meeting, Prime Minister Netanyahu announced with a heavy heart, in his words, the firing of Aryeh Deri. Now, 70% of the Likud faction that have been polled support Deri not serving as a member of Knesset. Deri will retain his role as Deputy Prime Minister. Now, this is an honorific role. It doesn't come with any formal title or any formal portfolio. Meanwhile, Saturday night, over 100,000 people protested against the government and its policies in Tel Aviv. This was followed around the country by smaller protests in cities like Herzliya, Beersheba, Haifa, Jerusalem, and various others. Now, what was interesting at the protest on Saturday night is that there was a very, very small faction armed with Palestinian flags saying that they were protesting some of the policies on annexation and the occupation. However, many felt that they would clash with the overall message of the protests, which was against the overhauling of the Supreme Court and some of the government's agenda items, including having some members of the government being overtly homophobic. Meanwhile, addressing his National Unity faction earlier today, former Defense Minister Benny Gantz has said that the protests seem to be working. He says that Prime Minister Netanyahu is already changing the type of language he is using in English, which is very, very telling. Meanwhile, a senior bank official, Moshe Chazan, has announced his resignation as part of a 5-member official body, saying that he will be joining the socio-political sphere. This is believed to be in relation to the ongoing protests. And this follows two former Bank of Israel governors warning against overhauling the Supreme Court, saying that this could have an adverse effect on the Israeli economy, and says that the current Supreme Court, standing independently as it currently does, only bodes well for a strong economy. Israel's ambassador to Canada has announced his resignation. He says he disagrees with the policies of the Netanyahu government. Dr. Ronen Hoffman has sent a formal request asking for his tenureship as ambassador to Ottawa to be cut short and will return in the summer. Now, he follows Israel's ambassador to France, Yael German, who also tendered her resignation. However, her statement was overtly political and referred specifically to individuals like Bezalel Smotrich and Itamar Ben-Gvir and the far-right politics that they hold. Both German and Dr. Hoffman were appointees by the former Yesh Atid or Lapid-led government. Now, the Times of Israel, which is one of Israel's daily newspaper that publishes in French, in English, in Arabic, and in Hebrew, has released 2 of a 3-part series commissioned by the Center for Peace Commission, a New York-based nonprofit that contains very, very interesting, albeit heart-wrenching interviews with Palestinians who live in Gaza. Now, using animation and, of course, keeping their identities anonymous, the Gazan-based Palestinians speak about life under Hamas and speak about the situation that they face with regards to an ongoing humanitarian crisis, routine intimidation and torture by members of Hamas. nepotism, and how incitement has been used. One of those very, very brave voices, speaking on condition of anonymity, speaks about how they don't want any war. They've had four wars over recent years, and nobody is interested in another war with their Israeli neighbors. They just want peace. They just want to be able to get on with their lives. However, if they talk about this, they face torture, they face being rounded up by Hamas, and they face never being seen again. It's really, really heart-wrenching. And if you are online and you are able to get to timesofisrael.com, I really, really implore you to read this, because these are the voices we seldom hear and often wonder about. And our final story takes us to Australia, and the Anti-Defamation Commission have put in a request to the Australian Foreign Ministry to deny rapper Kanye West, or Yadolf, as I think he should be called, a visa for entry into Australia. The former rapper and relevant artist, who is reported to have married an Australian national, is planning to visit Australia pretty soon, and citing reasons of anti-Semitism and hate speech. This request has been put into the Foreign Ministry. And just to remind you, Kanye West, or Yadolf, whatever you want to call him, is last year's recipient of the Anti-Semite of the Year by Anti-Semitism, or stopantisemitism.org. Now, this brings me to the end of today's broadcast. Don't forget to check out our website at www.layoftheland.online. Our Facebook community is at Lottel Site. If you are on Facebook, look for us. We are at LOTLSITE. Give us a like, a follow, share our content. If you are viewing us on YouTube, let's get our community growing. Please click on the red subscribe button, and don't forget to share our content and invite your friends too as well. We are on Twitter at LayofTheLand5. All you have to do is follow us, and I will be back tomorrow with your headlines right here on the Israel Brief. I'm Rolene Marks, and have a wonderful rest of your day.